How's it going? Sick Libra here. Ashes the Green Witch had some questions about cellaring, and whereas I am new to the YouTube pipe community, I am not new to cellaring. It is something that I've really enjoyed doing, and I can't tell you how to cellar. I don't know what kind of blends that you got, but I am going to tell you what I know about it. As far as I can tell, heavily cased in aromatic, really sugary tobaccos, especially the stuff that sticks to your fingers, is not going to age well. I don't know why it doesn't, it just doesn't. But your Englishes, your straight Virginias, I mean even some of your burley blends, from what I understand, I don't really smoke burley. Your Virginia Periques, those will all mellow out, they'll get smoother. The flavors will blend together better. The perfect example that I can think of is if you've ever smoked Peter Stokkebye's Luxury Bullseye Flake. It's got the Cavendish center and the Virginia, I believe, wrap around the exterior of it. If you fold that up and stick it in your pipe and you smoke it, you're going to burn one flavor and it'll eventually overpower with the other flavor as it transitions into the different type of tobacco. So aging or cellaring will actually meld those flavors together so that basically the line will blur. And the same thing goes with ribbon cut. So you've got all these different little pieces of individual flavor for your different ribbons that are mixed in there. And as it ages and as it ferments, Latakias and Periques will tone down a lot. The bite will go out of some of the sharper tobaccos, and the flavors will all meld into one single flavor, giving it what I guess Mutton Chop Piper calls a velvety texture. Two ways to do it that I know of personally. You've got canning bulk tobacco and you've got buying by the tin. I personally like to cellar via bulk tobacco because it's cheaper. So I'll order, last I ordered a pound of Dunhill Nightcap, and I separated it all out and packed it into 8-ounce canning jars. There's two schools of thought on that too. There's the pack and don't pack people. I'm a packer. People say that, you know, what oxygen deficient environment air needs to flow through the tobacco, and there's people that say it melds better if you pack it together. I haven't found anything solid either way. I just pack. So you have your jars on standby whenever the tobacco comes in, and as soon as it comes in, because you know, once they put it in a bag and it leaves the facility, the clock is on. So as soon as it arrives at my front door, I start dishing it out of the bag and into jars and getting it sealed off as fast as I can. And there's people that vacuum seal them. There's people that don't seal them at all, or you know, don't worry about pressurizing or you know, vacuuming the jars at all. Me personally, it's more of a dangerous way to do it, and I have lost a jar of tobacco doing it before, and it was tragic. But what I do is I'll put the jars in the sink, and I will fill the sink with the hottest water that I can fill it with, you know, not boiling obviously, just the hot water out of the tap. I'll fill the sink with that to where just before the jars will start to float, and then I'll let them sit in there for about 10, maybe 15 minutes depending on how big the jar is, so that the air inside gets nice and warm. Then I tighten down that lid and set them off to cool, and it'll just barely suck down that button, and there's your vacuum seal. Now, my pride and joy when it comes to my cellared tobaccos. On my other videos, I talk a lot about my tin of Deep Hollow, and you know, I got a couple of Christmas Cheers and a Frog Morton, which, you know, those are just, you know, new prides. But I have a jar of tobacco that I got from the Tinderbox in Charleston, South Carolina. I mentioned it in my last video. They are no longer in business. It was absolutely tragic what happened to them. But because the owners of the building basically shoved a historic landmark out of their establishment. But I got a house blend from them that I really enjoyed smoking. It was called the Orient Express. It was an English Oriental blend, which was just outstanding. And I got about 4 ounces of that jarred up in an old salsa jar because it was like right whenever I first started doing it. I didn't know what I was doing. But the button's still down on it. It's still sealed, and that was back in 2012 when I jarred that up. The label actually wound up rotting off of the jar, and I had to basically relabel it with a piece of paper and a piece of tape. So that's my pride and joy. I have no idea when I'm going to open it. If I ever open it, I'm going to open it someday. Yeah, that's pretty much where I stand on it. I order in bulk, have jars on the standby, and as soon as it comes in, I throw it in. But it's like the other people in the comments have said, and it's perfectly good advice. Don't cellar anything that you don't already like, because the things you like, you're likely to like better once you've started cellaring, once it's been sitting for a few years. But if you don't like it, you're still not going to like it once it's been in the jar for, a decade or whatever. It's not, the flavor doesn't change that much. The texture and the overall feel of the tobacco is what changed. So get what you like, and if you got it in the tin, date it, throw it in the cellar. Just make sure the temperature stays relatively the same the whole time. Normal temperature for the inside of the house, about 65 to 80 degrees tops, and that should do you just fine. So I'm gonna go ahead and sign off here. It was good chatting at you, and I hope you enjoyed the advice. You have a good one.